Before we even get into watching this video, I just have to say, it is so incredible how excited Blizzard is for Wrath of the Lich King. You can see ads for Wrath on Facebook. You've been seeing all these YouTube videos coming out from Blizzard Entertainment talking about the expansion, and it's just very obvious that Blizzard is just as excited for Wrath as we the players are. And that's really cool because Wrath of the Lich King is considered WoW's magnum opus expansion, and for years and years, Blizzard was just so against classic servers. They were just adamant, we are never doing this, it's a bad idea, and blah blah blah, and they finally have committed to it, and we're finally getting Wrath of the Lich King, like the ultimate WoW expansion, and you can just see the enthusiasm in everybody's hearts for this. And despite blunders and downfalls and whatever and little dramas, people are just hyped for Wrath. And so seeing stuff like this, more stuff like this coming out, in this case, this Wrathgate, Wrath of the Lich King behind the scenes video, it's just really cool. It's a good time to be a WoW player. So hello everybody, my name is Nixxiom, and today we're gonna be watching the Wrathgate, Wrath of the Lich King Classic World of Warcraft behind the scenes video thing, and I'm gonna be reacting to it and talking about WoW Machinima and all that good stuff, so.
One interesting thing about the early days of World of Warcraft was a lot of the voices were actually done by employees.
When
Bolvar, as he walked past the battlefield, you heard different Alliance soldiers. One of those was me.
For Lorder on! For Lorder on!
Hi, I'm Taryn Gregory, lead cinematic narrative designer for World of Warcraft.
You guys want to hear an embarrassing story? Probably one of the most embarrassing stories of my entire life, and it involves this man right here on your screen. Taryn Gregory, some of you guys know this, some of you don't. Taryn Gregory used to be a World of Warcraft Machinima maker, just like me, just like WotLK, just like many other people. He made WoW Machinima, Blizzard picked him up at some point in the past, and now he makes like all the in-game cinematics and stuff for WoW. Maybe you guys knew that, maybe you didn't, maybe I just taught you something. Anyway, as you can imagine, someone like Taryn Gregory, like for a younger me, he was like an idol, someone to look up to, someone to aspire to be like. A WoW Machinima guy, just some dumb YouTube dude who got a job at Blizzard, and now he makes Machinima for a living with like a whole team and a whole studio. Really, really cool. So I always wanted to meet Taryn Gregory. I knew that I would be nervous as hell if I ever met him, but I always wanted to meet him. And you know what? I did meet him one day. I met him at BlizzCon 20-something. It was the BlizzCon where I submitted the video Westfall Pumpkins. Or no, it was Level 3 Raider. It was Level 3 Raider. I came in third place at BlizzCon that year in the movie contest, and that was the year that I met Taryn Gregory. Let me explain to you how I met this guy and the circumstances that went into meeting one of my heroes. Before I met Taryn Gregory, I met somebody else. It was a woman. I didn't know who this woman was, but she knew who I was, and she had seen my videos. She was a fan. She loved Nixxiom. She loved WotLK, blah, 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 blah. Great woman. Awesome. Hung out with her for about half an hour. I don't even remember how long. Well, I came to realize at one point, as you know, we got to know each other a little bit more, this was Taryn Gregory's wife. And she volunteered and offered to do some voice acting for me and WotLK in the future to, you know, she was, if I remember correctly, she was getting into voice acting, or maybe she already was. I don't remember. It's been several years, but she was offering her voice talents if we ever wanted to use them. I really appreciated that. She was actually the voice of like Larissa, or I forget the character's name, but she was in My Brother Thessarian, that Machinima that I made forever ago that I never made a sequel to. Anyway, the point is that I got her contact information, I got her phone number and stuff, and blah blah blah, so that I could keep in contact with her, and she could be in a future Nixxiom Machinima, which she ultimately was. Now, this happens. This whole conversation happens. I'm going about my business at BlizzCon, and I run into Taryn Gregory. Let me tell you how your boy Nixxiom here introduced himself to Taryn Gregory. Let me tell you how smooth I was, how awkward I was. I start talking to Taryn. I'm very nervous. And I say, oh, hey, hey, my name's Nixxiom. And he's like, oh, yeah, I know who you are. Like, I've seen some of your videos and stuff. Like, oh, really nice to meet you. Really nice to meet you. And you know what the first thing I tell him is after that? I tell this man, And how did I word this to this guy? I don't exactly remember the exact wording, but I tell him, yeah, like I actually have been hanging out with your wife for the past half hour, and she's really cool, really awesome woman. I actually got her phone number so that her and I can keep in contact. So it's really nice to meet you. This man looked at me in a way that I have never been looked at a day in my life. He just went, and I just realized in that moment, like what I had just said. Oh, hey, nice to meet you. By the way, I was hanging out with your wife and I got her phone number and stuff. Oh, okay. I see the awkwardness. Looking back, anyway, the point is, to use an old meme, I really dropped my spaghetti when it came to talking to Taryn Gregory. It was so embarrassing, and I realized my mistake in my choice of wordings with meeting this man immediately after I said it. Awkward conversation followed. Bye. Okay, see ya. Went our separate ways. Whatever. To be fair, everything's cool between me and Taryn Gregory. All right, he helped actually get me into some like betas over the past few years. I played Star Wars Battlefront 2 with him and a few people one time. Awesome guy, really cool, love him. But man, you talk about an awkward first experience meeting this guy. So yeah, if you do meet your heroes, guys, the point is, don't give them the impression you just sat and flirted with their wives. So, yes, let us continue with the video.
Today we're going to be talking about Wrath of the Lich King, more specifically, in-game cinematics and how they came to be. Warcraft 3 actually ended on a cliffhanger. Arthas claimed Frostmourne, and it claimed his soul. And it is here where the spire of Ice-Crowned Citadel towers over the frozen wastes. The story will continue in World of Warcraft. Blizzard has always had a legacy of just great cinematics. The video team had a lot of fun putting together these gameplay trailer moments, including the Black Temple, Zulaman, the Sunwell, and even side projects like Nomergon News.
Oh, yeah.
Nomergon News is so good.
That's old.
But the creative leadership team of World of Warcraft began to see these as having greater potential. So we looked to in-game cinematics for the first time. Well, they came to us with a script, and it was evident from the pages that this was a major moment. This was the first time that the Lich King would confront the players in the flesh.
I will show you the true meaning of fear.
So we started storyboarding with our storyboard artist, actually drawing pen on paper, and created over 400 line drawings, and it revealed just the sheer scope of the complexity of the project. So now a handful of video artists are given an...
If I got them in the closet or like in my drawer or whatever, but even when you just make a simple WoW Machinima, it's the exact same process. You get the script, you got to sit down, you got to storyboard everything. My storyboards, like me and WotLK, like our storyboards never looked that good, like that detailed. We just used like stick figures and whatnot with letters next to them to indicate, oh, this is Nixxiom, this is WotLK, this is the noob, and so on and so forth. But it's cool to see exactly what like I have done for years by myself or with WotLK for a time, just like to see what I do, but just on a grander scale. Once you get like a really big team, what you can create with it. So I don't know. It's interesting for me.
So now a handful of video artists are given an exciting and almost terrifying opportunity to make a cinematic using the in-game engine. But the engine really wasn't designed to do it. There'd never been any cinematic expressions in World of Warcraft, with the exception of these gameplay trailers that we've been putting together. So we were gonna have to get innovative, we were gonna have to try new things, and we ended up doing a whole lot with the engine we never thought was possible.
Okay.
The very, very most important part of any filmmaker's toolkit is the camera. And we really hadn't had any camera technology yet. One hookup was created that was actually called Commentator. Esports in WoW were in its early days, but they needed the ability to have a really good camera to follow the action. And so the Commentator hookup in the game engine gave us the opportunity to write a WoW add-on called Camera Guy, just like your
So Blizzard, do you want to release this and make this available to the public? or to those select few that make WoW videos. That way we can get some better shots and stuff, and we're not stuck just zooming in with our characters. Really would appreciate that, because this looks amazing. Just food for thought.
Damage meters just like your UI. And this tool allowed us to do things we'd never done before in the engine. We could pilot a camera through, and it could buffer and smooth the actions, and then we could play that path back again, which allowed us to record a background, a foreground, a midground, layer them together. This is what allows us to up the visual fidelity. And
exact same thing. There was a WoW camera add-on back in the day. It was called WoW Camera Tool. I believe WoW Camera Tool stopped its development back in Wrath. Not entirely sure. Or at the end of Wrath, it did exactly what he's describing right there, and this is exactly how so many Machinima people created Machinimas back in the day using WoW Camera Tool. I actually have a personal Wrath of the Lich King private server that I've been using for years just for this purpose. Well, there's two purposes. One, because WoW Camera Tool works on it, so you can get those nice panning shots and stuff that you guys have seen in my Machinimas. And two, it's a private server and it's stable, and so it allows me to spawn NPCs and blah, blah, blah and whatnot in the world. And I don't have to worry about it crashing like in future private server clients. So that's why if you watch some of my Machinimas, the main characters like Nixxiom and the noob and everybody will be in the updated character models, right? But if I was if you see the crowd shots and whatnot, it's the old character models because it's recorded on a Wrath of the Lich King private server. So the new models didn't exist then. So fun fact.
Really get depth in our scenes, and it produced some pretty good results. Even 14 years later, the fundamentals of Camera Guy and our add-ons are still used by our video department to capture in-game material.
That's cool.
So the Wrathgate was ultimately the confrontation of three armies. Any fighting that you see on screen was NPCs that we specifically created to fight each other. But if we actually needed them to move from point A to point B, we didn't have the technology to do this yet. So what did we use? People. We actually had up to 40 quality assurance testers that would join us on voice chat, and we'd get the raid together, and they would take their places. 1, 2, 3 action, and they would run from here to there, run from here to there. Sometimes we'd have custom models, and when we would use these custom models, they were only really loaded on the computer that was our camera. Some of the QA testers who were working as our actors, when they loaded into the game, they wouldn't see what we were seeing through the camera lens. They'd see little squares of blue and white checker patterns. And they kept asking on voice chat, "Are you sure it looks good? Does it look correct on your side?" And we'd be like, yeah, no, it looks awesome. And it did look good.
That's cool.
Rise up, sons of the Horde!
My favorite shot was when the army of the Horde actually descended from their fortress and rode up the steps of the Wrathgate on the back of their wolves. And if you watch that shot, you'll see that actually it's a whole bunch of players lined up. They all hit run. They all hit /cheer right on their mark.
Tarogar for the Horde!
And that was all played in real time, just like a role-playing session, as any role players would make up their scene and play out a high adventure of the Horde storming the Wrathgate.
How did they if you look at this shot,
Bunch of players.
if you look at that, the color and everything
lined
versus
up, they all hit run, they all hit /cheer right on their mark.
Tarogar for the Horde!
Look at that.
That was all played in real time, just like.
How did they, hold on, I gotta be an editor here for a second.
Role-playing.
It looks like what they did. Yeah, okay, I can see it now. Because I was gonna say it looks so different though from an in-game recording. But I think I can see what they did here, and goodness gracious, this would have been annoying to edit. It looks like what they did is they have a still background here, like a screenshot, for example, and they have these characters up here, and they've either manually put them in through a model viewer or something or whatever. But the point is, you have this furthest area back here is completely blurred out, so that's out of focus. The stairs are in focus, and all these guys are riding up the stairs. Now, originally, apparently, according to him, this was just a shot of people riding up these stairs, but you notice there's a lot of motion blur on them. So I'm assuming that what Blizzard did is manually by hand, I don't think RotoBrush existed back then, but they kind of just manually cut out these characters, and as they ran up the stairs, they applied a directional blur on each and every one of them to imply a faster motion. If that's what they did, because that's why, like, you can see the stairs are not blurred out, but the characters are. However, if you look, though, like here, you can see a blur. So I can imagine there's like you can even see a blur right here. So it's almost like you can see that the mask kind of goes like this, if that makes sense. And they've put a blur on it. Let me see.
Session.
Yeah, if you pause it somewhere else, yeah, like even this, like you've got a dust element here, but you can see there's like a mask cut out, and like the ground right here is completely blurred out, whereas this ground is not. So I'm assuming that's what they did in order to make it look not so recorded in game, but that's just me geeking out as an editor. I apologize. I've been editing videos for 17 years, okay? So I like to look at things like that and be like, how'd they do that? How'd they make it look like that? So that would have been very annoying to do with like the masking, but yeah.
As any role players would make up their scene and play out a high adventure of the Horde storming the Wrathgate. Arthas! A lot of the charm of the Wrathgate cinematic in my heart is that it's truly in-game. And keeping it in that art style, I think, is valuable to create a more cohesive experience for the player. That's not to say that we didn't do some cosmetic work on the characters. We actually up-resed the feature characters of the Wrathgate quite a lot. Before the character models were redone in Warlords of Draenor, the human male face had eyes with 6 sides on the pupils and didn't even have teeth. And we had to do a lot of work around that area to make it deform in a satisfying way.
Gorgeous.
But we did it in a way that it didn't move away from exactly what you thought the characters looked like. The thing about the Wrathgate is it was probably over 90% of the shots were done using animations that already existed in the game. One of the most iconic lines of the Wrathgate.
Did you think we had forgotten?
Was just Putris up on the hillside, and he's just doing the slash bow animation, but at like 3% speed. You just take the speed slider all the way down, and he's actually doing this off camera and leaning down. Did you think we had forgotten? And no one would be the wiser that that was really just an emote.
Same thing we did.
This one shot where Bolvar is running into the frame and uppercutting the undead. If you could actually pull that shot apart, you could see that it was a hard swap from one animation to the other, just covered up by that foreground object. We used a lot of tricks to make sure that we could use the in-game animations effectively. My team started getting really innovative with the vehicle tech. This was a new technology that allowed players to kind of attach themselves to another object and drive it around. At the end, the big scene with the dragons as they're laying down the red dragon fire, we needed dragon breath. Instead of doing it traditional composite methods, we ended up making a vehicle out of the fire on the ground. The pillar of fire breath would sit in the seat of the fire, and then the dragon would attach to the pillar of flame. And the whole thing was now a car. We would just drive around the battlefield, and it looked like a dragon strafing, when it was just this vehicle being piloted around. One of the things that made the Wrathgate so memorable is that it wasn't just the cinematic. And one of the coolest things that supported the Wrathgate was the new technology of phasing. When phasing technology came online, the events of the movie actually transpired in the game. And seeing how dynamic the world had become, both before and after, was completely new. And phasing is the technology that allows this to happen. As the Wrathgate started coming together, it actually inspired the content and quest design team to look to what needed to happen in the aftermath. We needed to follow through on the events of the Wrathgate now, immediately, right in the quest follow-up. And that's how the battle for the Undercity came to be. As things come online and other designers see what other people are working on, it can reflect and push the story forward.
Dude, I'm going to be honest about something. This is a pure World of Warcraft confession. I remember, like there are so many people that they loved the Battle of the Undercity. They thought it was the greatest thing ever, one of the greatest quest lines. I barely remember anything that happens in it. I'm not going to spoil nothing, I guess, because some of you guys have never played Wrath, but I just remember fighting the guy at the end of it, and I was like, okay, but I don't remember any of the details or the dialogues or anything. It was just kind of like, all right, got it done, got out of the way. But For those of you, well, I'm about to do it again, so maybe I'll get to experience it in all of its majesty and, you know, appreciate it this time instead of just speeding through it. But for those of you that have never played Wrath, like this is like kind of one of those like, whoa, like quest lines in WoW that people really point at and say this is WoW storytelling done right. So
Soon we march upon our fallen city and reclaim it.
Death
to the scourge and death to the living!
When the Wrathgate first went live in that beta program and we started getting the feedback, and it was some of the most positive feedback we'd received, all the hard work we'd done was paying off. This changed World of Warcraft. It made it feel more immersive, like the story was coming to life. And it had a profound effect moving forward in World of Warcraft. Through all subsequent updates, in-game cinematics became a major staple of all major moments in the game. I will never forget my experience working on the Wrathgate, the wonderful crew who worked on it with me, and how much it meant to be as a player, as a fan, as someone who just loves Warcraft. And even 14 years later, and dozens of in-game cinematics that have come in the aftermath, there's nowhere else I'd rather be. There's nothing I'd rather be working on. Thanks for taking this trip down memory lane with me, and I really hope to see you in Northrend. Take care.
That's cool. That's awesome. I love it, man. I love the enthusiasm from Blizzard. I love the enthusiasm from you guys in the comment sections. The positive enthusiasm, like, yeah, Wrath is going to be awesome. The negative, it's like, yeah, I'm going to play Wrath. I'm going to play the crap out of it, but it's not going to be as good as original Wrath, but I'm still going to play a ton of it. I mean, I love the enthusiasm from myself when I look in the metaphorical mirror and I'm like, man, I'm like talking to myself. I'm like, you're excited. And I'm like, yeah, I'm very excited. So I love it. You know, Blizzard's excited. We're all excited. Blizzard, keep pumping out stuff like this. Keep giving us more behind the scenes stuff. Tell us more about Arthas, the Lich King. Maybe like the endings to Wrath that you guys considered could be the end of Wrath, like how it could all wrap up, but it got canned. Like maybe Tyrion did become the Lich King in the original idea or something. I don't know. So, but I love content like this, Blizzard. I want to see them keep pumping stuff like this out. I apologize if I kind of rambled a bit, but it is a reaction. It's not just, you know, watching the video because, you know, that'd be kind of boring, right? So forgive me if I kind of geek out over like the film stuff and the editing and the just me geeking out over the nostalgia. And yeah, guys, thank you for watching the video. Stay cool. Please consider subscribing. And it is currently 5:19 in the morning, so I'm going to go to bed. Thank you all for watching. Like the video, and I'll see you.